Hey everyone! This week Alphia and I will be talking about Gone with the Wind on her channel and the 1994 TV miniseries Scarlett on mine. Now, I've never read the books, and I think I watched the movie Gone with the Wind with my grandmother years ago, but I don't remember it. I know that Kathy directed a performance of Gone with the Wind in the attic room in Flowers in the Attic with her siblings. That was in the book. That was probably my first encounter with the story, because I was young when I read that book. Before we begin, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and to Alphia's. We have been doing a lot of collaborations together as of late. In the past, we've done Burning Bed and Ellen Foster on her channel, among others, and we've done No One Would Tell, both the original and the remake on mine, among others. So please check those videos out. Please subscribe to our channels. Please like and comment on this video. We love to hear from you. So Scarlett is played by Val Kilmer's former wife, Joanne Whalley, or Whaley, not sure how you pronounce that. Very sad to hear Val Kilmer died recently. He was a great he was a great actor. I loved him in Top Secret. So, the TV miniseries was made back when Joanne and Val were still married. The first episode begins with a funeral for a woman named Melanie. That name means nothing to me because I haven't read the books and don't remember the first movie. But I soon learn that this is the wife of a man named Ashley, whom I know is one of the love interests of the protagonist, Scarlett O'Hara. Ashley makes a scene at the funeral, grieving over his dead wife, which I guess is his cousin, I think I heard. But anyway, yeah, I heard that Ashley and his wife Melanie were actually cousins, but she's dead now. So she's a dead cousin, and a dead wife. Okay, so Scarlett, I guess, rushes to basically, hush him up, I guess, only to make a scene herself because it looks suspicious, her rushing to stop Ashley from, throwing himself on his wife's grave, whatever. So, yeah, apparently she makes a spectacle of herself, is, I think, the word they use. Anyway, we're back in those horse and buggy days. Scarlett and her Uncle Henry, who is played by George Grizzard, or George Grizzard, however you pronounce it, they have a little conversation when he interrupts her at dinner. He tells her he thinks she should leave town. He apparently doesn't think her behavior with Ashley at the funeral was appropriate. Next thing we know, Scarlett is at the train station with some man who I guess is her brother-in-law, married to her sister, Sue Ellen. When I hear the name Sue Ellen, I think I'm on top of that, Rose, from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, but anyway. Scarlett and Sue Ellen have a grudge between them. Sue Ellen has a couple of daughters. Her husband is hoping the baby on the way will be a boy. Sue Ellen doesn't really care. She's got her hands full with the ones she has. Mammy, who I guess was the housekeeper in Gone with the Wind, she's dying. So Scarlett goes in to see her. Very sad. Scarlett learns from Sue Ellen that their younger sister turned over her share of the homestead, Tara, to the convent. So that means it won't be so easy for Scarlett to take over Tara and throw Sue Ellen out. That's what Sue Ellen seems to think Scarlett wants to do, but Scarlett thinks that's just outrageous. We also learn that Scarlett stole a man named Frank Kennedy from her sister Sue Ellen, so there's the grudge we heard about just a little while back. What a conversation to be having at the dinner table with Sue Ellen's husband present. First of all, seriously, ladies, a little tact. Well, anyway, the husband knows where the two sisters currently stand. Scarlett is married to Rhett Butler, who is the dark-haired man with a mustache, played by Timothy Dalton. Rhett wants a divorce even after telling the dying Mammy that he would patch things up with Scarlett. Scarlett thinks an oath made to a dying woman should be carved in stone. I disagree. I don't think Mammy cares about that, where she's going. I think she'll be fine to just leave all those worldly concerns behind. I think Scarlett is taking Mammy hostage, in a sense, to get what she wants from Mr. Butler. It took me a little while to figure out that Ashley is played by the disgraced actor Stephen Collins, who was Reverend Camden on Seventh Heaven. Knowing what I know now about him, Scarlett would be best to stay away from his kind. Scarlett learns that Ashley is in financial trouble, so she goes about building 25 homes. I didn't quite understand the rationale behind that. Ashley thinks it's a gift from God. He doesn't realize it's a gift from a woman with a likely agenda. So that made me feel kind of bad. Here he is thinking, oh, God's, come to save me, and really it's just, agenda-driven Scarlett behind the whole thing. Some other things that happened in episode 1. We meet Anne, who will later become the next Mrs. Butler. Scarlett tries to get Rhett's mother to help her dress more ladylike. Rhett shames Scarlett for the clothes she wears. He doesn't care for all the lace and the bows. Lots of drama between those two. She likes to boast that she descends from Irish royalty. Rhett's comeback is that everyone in Ireland seems to. They're like a couple of kids. In fact, I think it's Rhett who says at one point that Scarlett is like a kid who whines for a toy and then when she gets it, goes on to just break it. Rhett and Scarlett go sailing. They capsize and end up making love in this little shack on the shore. Soon after, she received a letter from Rhett saying that he's sorry, but he can't be with her. So he's abandoning her by letter, which is like the old-fashioned way of breaking up with someone by text. Scarlett responds to this disappointment by going up to Ashley's room with him and kissing him, but nothing more happens. However, someone sees the two of them together and reports it to Rhett's mother, and Rhett's mother is not happy about this. Then, at the very end, Scarlett finds out she's pregnant with Rhett's baby, but for some reason she decides to just hold on to this piece of information until it's convenient for her to let him know that she's having his baby, which turns out to be years in the future. We'll later find out. Now on to episode 2. Scarlett is in Savannah now for her grandfather's birthday. He's bedridden. He thinks she wants money, but she's like, no, that's not what I want. Scarlett has her heart set on Tara, her homestead. Rhett and some woman are talking about Scarlett's alleged indiscretion with Ashley. I don't know who the woman is, but she tells him to hear Scarlett's side of the story, so she seems like a very sensible woman, whoever she is. More clippity-clop of horses. Scarlett meets up with her Irish family. Apparently Scarlett's full name is Katie Scarlett O'Hara. She was named after a female relative. I never realized that. Funny what you miss when you don't read the book or watch the first movie. At least I don't remember the first movie. While doing a little bit of Irish dancing, Scarlett gets dizzy and faints, probably because she's pregnant. Meanwhile, Rhett is off chatting up a young woman named Anne, who we met in the first episode. Remember? Turns out she's the one who reported to Rhett's mother that Ashley and Scarlett had gone up to Ashley's room together, which turns out to be a big pile of nothing. In addition to the fact that we all know that nothing much happened, the bottom line is Rhett was planning to leave her anyway. Anyway, Scarlett's grandfather wants to make her his heir. He's worth $500,000, which is a lot of money as far as I'm concerned, but by rich people standards today, it's peanuts. Scarlett is impressed by that amount, but she says to his offer, I think not. She doesn't want to be tied to him, which she will be if she takes the offer. I think she'll be, responsible for his well-being or what have you, and she doesn't want any of that. She doesn't want any of that responsibility. So Scarlett gets the divorce papers from Rhett, and she's upset about that, understandably. She decides to go to Ireland to get away. There's some incident involving a burning house. I have no idea what this is all about, but usually when a house burns down in a movie or show, it's important. So I feel the need to insert that in here, that a house burns down. Some blonde man played by Sean Bean, but who makes me kind of think of David Bowie in Labyrinth for some reason. A young woman in his castle while a music box plays in the background. This apparently is Lord Fenton, and he will become very important to the plot. Scarlett has a cousin named Colum, who she is very close to. He's a priest. Meanwhile, Rhett and Anne hook up. I can't decide what to make of the expression on Anne's face. Does she want this too? I don't really know what to make of it. Scarlett meets the Earl of Fenton, Lord Fenton himself. Once a always a as many will say. I heard a quote recently. If you shenan once, you'll shenan again. That sounds very Irish and very fitting of this Lord Fenton guy. Scarlett is warned by her family to stay away from that Lord Fenton. Does she heed their sage advice? No. But apparently it must be said that Scarlett absolutely despises politics. It's okay, Scarlett. Many of us do. Scarlett buys the Ballyhara, which I guess is some property, and becomes known amongst the local people as the O'Hara. She's a really big deal. When she walks into a room, the room erupts in cheers. Fenton is done with his current little plaything for the season. She's the woman earlier. Her name is Mary, by the way. Remember that. Scarlett goes into labor. They do a C-section. She acts like she's about to die, and that's the end of episode 2. Now for episode 3. Mary, the girl Fenton has been ping, is Column's niece. More Irish dancing follows. Now that Scarlett isn't pregnant anymore, it's safe for her to dance. But apparently fox hunting isn't safe for her to do because while riding her horse, she falls off and awakens to Anne Butler, who informs her that she's married to Rhett. I'm not sure. She may have already told her that she's married, or she might have told her right now. I'm not sure. But bottom line, she's married to Rhett and is pregnant with his baby. By the way, I forgot to mention that Scarlett had been telling everyone that she was widowed, not divorced, and Rhett found that out recently. Which I guess he must have thought that was a little bit weird. She's, telling everyone her ex-husband is dead, but she felt that would be better than telling them she's divorced. Scarlett goes back to Ashley, but she can't be with him because she has Rhett's child, which seems like such a non-issue by today's standards, but I guess back then it was a hurdle. She's apparently going around telling everybody about how her child is Rhett's, but she doesn't tell Rhett. Seems like he should be the first person for her to tell. She seems the kind to use a baby as emotional blackmail too, so I'm not sure why she's being so secretive. Sister Sue Ellen has her boy, but the pregnancy is a difficult one. She looks like she's on her deathbed. Scarlett apparently went back to her hometown to visit with her, very sick sister, who I'm not sure if she died or not, and then she later comes back to Ireland. Scarlett decides to sell her properties, including a store, a Peachtree Street property, and a housing tract, but not Tara. Scarlett gives Tara to Sue Ellen, and that's all it takes for the sisters to mend fences. By the way, where's Scarlett's kid? I've seen little of that child. She returns to Ireland and is reunited with her kid. Okay, so the kid stayed in Ireland. The little girl, by the way, is named Catherine or Cat. I still think Scarlett isn't spending much time with that little girl. She's too busy chasing after one guy or another. Colum is worried about Scarlett and Lord Fenton. Apparently Scarlett's been spending lots of time with that Callum's niece Mary comes to him for help because she's pregnant with Fenton's baby. Callum confronts Fenton. Fenton responds by shooting and killing him. This series took a sharp right turn. I did not see that coming at all. It's like reading the Sweet Valley High books as an adult and realizing they're full of dead friends, dead boyfriends, murdered children. This is hardcore. So, on to part 4. Can't wait to see what happens next. Colum died. I kind of suspected, but it's confirmed. Mary is worrying about her pregnancy. She wants to leave Ireland with Scarlett. She won't tell Scarlett the baby's father's name, which is a mistake. Scarlett needs to know because she's hanging around with the guy, thinking he's all right. He's so far from being all right, it's not funny. Now Rhett's wife, Anne, is dying. She won't be having Rhett's baby after all, but Rhett takes comfort knowing his wife and baby will be together. So sad. Scarlett thinks Colum was murdered by the English. Seems like a fair scapegoat to pin a murder on. Fenton argues this point with her. I would think he would want to just let it go. Let her blame whomever she wants to blame, so long as it's not him. But apparently this guy has got complicated motives I just don't understand. Eventually, Fenton does reveal his true self to Scarlett. He admits that he fathered Mary's baby. Now, why would he go and do a thing like that? She never needed to know that little salacious fact. It's like he's just giving her all of this ammunition to use against him. She threatens him if he dares come near her. He chases after her and ultimately her. Mary overhears everything. So do the male servants. The servants do absolutely nothing. I hope Mary will burst into the room and just kill them already. Oh look, Scarlett is waking up after having passed out in the room with him. She finds Fenton in bed, all bloody, with a knife sticking out of him. Looks like that little rascal Mary actually did it. But now Scarlett is being arrested for murder. Now that Scarlett is being led away in handcuffs, her daughter finally seems to notice her absence and cries out for her. I would think her daughter would have been used to her mother's absence by now. How much time has she spent with the child over the past couple of episodes? I barely noticed the baby's existence. Oh, and Mary has run off. That's awfully suspicious. The suspicious nature of her departure hasn't escaped Scarlett, but what can she do about it? Rhett doesn't believe Scarlett is guilty of murder, even though he has no doubt she's capable of something like that. The whole scenario reminds me of the plotline of a book I read in middle school called The Lost Mind by Christopher Pike. It's a YA horror novel about a teen girl named Jenny, who wakes up in the woods next to her friend Crystal's body. The The friend Crystal was stabbed to death. Did Jenny do it? You'll have to read the book to find out, but this Scarlett miniseries is starting to remind me of that book. Scarlett finally confesses to Rhett that he has a daughter he's never met. He reacts in a way I would expect him to. He is furious. Mary returns. Rhett chases after her and tries to get her to confess to save Scarlett's life, but Mary breaks free and jumps off a bridge into the water. Rhett jumps in after her and saves her. Her unborn baby dies. It comes out in court that Scarlett made threats to Fenton on the night he was killed. One of the servants testifies that he overheard everything, and yet he did nothing to intervene. Also, Scarlett did kill a soldier in the past. A Yankee soldier, to be more specific. Apparently he was trying to do bad things to her, and she killed him in self-defense. Scarlett had confessed this to Fenton in the past, and he'd confessed it to someone else who went on to testify to the incident on the stand. Scarlett is found guilty and sentenced to be executed. Mary breaks upon hearing the verdict and stands up. Apparently she made it to court, and she announces that Scarlett didn't do it. So Mary's neck is on the chopping block, but they're going to get her the very best defense. And Scarlett and Rhett are back together, and he meets their darling daughter. Some thoughts I had. Now, first of all, regarding the quote-unquote spectacle Scarlett made at Melanie's funeral with Ashley. People keep calling her out on it, such as Uncle Henry and Rhett. I don't really know what I think about that because I was surprised at how little a role Ashley seemed to play in the miniseries. I've heard his name before, and it seems to me he played a pretty substantial role in Gone with the Wind. But in this miniseries, it didn't seem we saw all that much of him. Which is just as well, because who wants to see Stephen Collins? We mostly saw Rhett. Maybe the scenes with Ashley just bored me, so I kind of spaced out during them. That's fair. I didn't find Ashley to be a compelling character at all. Quite bland, really. So maybe Scarlett was being improper. I don't really care. And as for Fenton, I hope he's living it up in hell. Too many people died in this series. Mammy, Anne. I don't know if Sue Ellen died. It seems like she was dying. Fenton, well, I'm glad he died. I hope Mary doesn't die in the gallows. That would be one death too many. Scarlett was crazy for trying to keep her daughter's secret from Rhett. I didn't understand that. The moral of the story is just tell the truth. The truth will set you free. That's really what it came down to in the end. I give this miniseries 3 stars. It was boring at first, but it came around in the end. What are your thoughts, Alphia?
All right, let's get into Scarlett. Scarlett is the sequel to Gone with the Wind. This movie came out in 1939, Gone with the Wind did, but the sequel to it came out in 1994. Can you imagine? So it took, let me do the calculations right quick. So it took them exactly 57 years to do a sequel. Now, most of the cast is deceased, and some were still alive, actually, but they were older, so they couldn't do it. So Rhett and Scarlett they were gone already, so they couldn't do the movie. So the movie took 57 years to do a sequel. Can you imagine waiting 57 years to see a sequel to a movie? Well, let's get into it. So Scarlett is headed to Melanie's funeral. And I like Melanie. Melanie was my favorite. Her and Scarlett are my favorite character on Gone with the Wind. And even though Melanie was not on Scarlett, Scarlett was my favorite on Gone with the Wind. And on Scarlett too. Now, let's get into it. So, Scarlett is on her way to Melanie's funeral in the first episode. And Ashley has a meltdown at the gravesite, and he wants to basically try to get inside, fall inside, basically. But I'm going to go ahead and say, how are they going to have a part 2 and they don't really mention Melanie and Ashley's son? Now, we learned that Rhett is still stubborn and upset, because he feels as though Scarlett never really loved him and he was trying to always buy her affection or whatever. So he's basically, running off doing what he's doing. So Scarlett does what anybody else does. She heads to Charleston where his mom is at. Well, she heads to Savannah and she sees her grandfather, which is her mom's father. And she sees her aunts, and she goes to see Rhett's mother. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm currently reading the Scarlett book because I own the book, but I'm reading the Audible of it, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. It is way different from the movie, just like Gone with the Wind, and I can't wait to talk about that because I was talking about the movie and the book with Jennifer, but we are talking about Scarlett right now. And I'm currently reading Scarlet, and I'm on currently, what chapter am I on? Like, oh my God, like it's so much different than the movie. And it's like, okay, I'm trying to follow the book in the movie because I don't finish the movie, and I'm reading the book, and I'm just like, what the heck? I'm on chapter 28, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. It is nothing like it, because in the book she's talking to Rosemary, which is Rhett's sister, and his brother Ross, and then her mother, and she's really cool with his mother. Now in the movie, they were cool, but of course Ashley comes to visit Scarlett. Well, he's in the neighborhood or whatever. And because there's a ball, and it was a masquerade ball. Now the masquerade ball, we learned that they had the masquerade ball in the movie. And then, Red does like agreement with her or whatever. He'll be play nice with her if she agrees to go away. She ends up going away beforehand because of the simple fact is, and the young lady that Red ends up marrying later on in the movie, not too much longer in the movie, and she's young like Scarlett was. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, did anybody feel like he may have liked Anne when he first met her? Because how he met Anne was, I think that was the first time they're meeting. He was coming, and his wife, Scarlett, was there. And he went to Boston, I think it was Boston, to get the tea set back that his mom had, the china she had or whatever. I think it was Boston. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry about that one. He went back to get it. It said the same thing in the book. That happened in the book. And that's when he found out Scarlett was there. And Scarlett stayed longer in the book than she is in the movie, because in the book, she's still in Charleston. And she didn't stay long in Charleston because, of course, Mrs. Rhett Butler told her she had to leave because Anne sees Scarlett go upstairs with Ashley. Now I'm going to go ahead and say it. Her and Ashley shared a kiss. She was like, Ashley, I have to go, whatever. And she basically said, like, it would take, she said she wasn't in his room long. She said it takes her much longer to take her, her petticoat or whatever off of her, whatever. So basically she said she needs more than 10 minutes to take her clothes off or whatever. And I think she was in Ashley's room less than 10 minutes, and Anne saw them go upstairs, but she didn't know what they did. And she confides in Red and tell him she thought she was the reason why they got a divorce. I'm gonna go ahead and say, baby, you didn't care. You just wanted him. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, I was not a fan of Anne and Red together. I really wasn't. But I mean, of course, they end up together. They get married, and she's really young, and Anne gets sick. Now, the way I found out in the book, it's a different way she passes on in the book. It says, she gets pregnant, and I think, yes, she tells Scarlett in the movie about her pregnancy. Scarlett has already had the baby. So Scarlett gets pregnant with Red's baby because they go out sailing one day. And Scarlett and him, the boat, kind of flips over, and it's like a really bad storm. And she's screaming for Red because I think he could swim and she couldn't swim. And I think that's the same thing like in the book, whatever. But either way, in the movie, she kind of floats away, but Red somehow gets her, and he takes her to like some little where like the sailors be at, like a little house or whatever. He tries to warm her up, and they end up making love, and they make their daughter Kat. Now she gets pregnant, and she doesn't say anything. And she finds out she's pregnant because she's home with her grandfather, her mom's father. And he's much older because it was about how older he was in the book. So he's older in the movie, and he's how older people are crabby and they really, really rude. Because I have an aunt, she's old. She's like in her 90s, and she's really, really old. Well, she's not really old. She's really, really mean. So it kind of reminds me like he's the male version of her. And it's so funny because he's like, when I die, I'll leave you all this, if you, stay here with me or whatever. Because she ends up staying with her grandfather for a little bit. But then of course, she's pregnant, so she has to go to Ireland, and she goes there, and she ends up buying a home and remodeling it. And she falls for this crazy fool. Like, and I'm going to go ahead and say it. This guy was really crazy. He was messing around with the underage girl, and, then he started messing with Scarlett because, her family was trying to tell he was bad news. And I wish she would have listened because he was bad news. He was absolutely bad news. So, she ends up doing adult things with him. And then one day, he got really aggressive for her after she met his mother and his sister. And he He does the unthinkable to Scarlett. And I'm going to go ahead and say I was so pissed at that episode. Like, everybody heard her screaming and fighting with him, and no one decided, even another man that was a butler, like he was a butler or whatever. And he didn't even help her. No one helped her but that one girl. She ended up offing him. She ended up killing him. Sorry, I forgot. You cannot say, well, just offing him. Sorry, I do apologize for that. Offing him. And Scarlett goes on trial. Now, the little girl that she took with her that was getting abused by Lord Richard Fenton, he ends up impregnating her. And she tells Scarlett she is pregnant, but she doesn't tell Scarlett she's messing with him. And Lord Fenton actually offed her cousin. And her cousin start catching feelings. Did we catch that? Her cousin start catching feelings. Now, back in the day, they actually people was okay with marrying their cousins. And I'm going to go ahead and say that, yeah, no. But, that's their business, though, but no. But, he ends up offing him because he goes to him and he says, you impregnated her and you must marry her, or basically she's asking for money to send her away, and he didn't want to do it. So he ends up offing him, which is so sad. And he tells Scarlett about offing her cousin. And because when she goes to Ireland, the first time she goes to Ireland, first time of her ever life, and she finds out about, she finds out how they evict people. So this is how they evict people. They bring them out their house, bring all their stuff out their house, and then they hit it with like a big, large stick, and they knock the house down. And of course, she goes to go stay with her family out there. And they didn't tell her they were behind on their mortgage, and she ends up paying for it. But she's pregnant, and she's telling them, she's going around saying, she's a widow. And people they know her as Mrs. Butler. And they meet Mr. Butler, and they're looking like, huh? And then when they finally find out that she is not a widow and that she's divorced, she said she couldn't do it. And it's okay. So how Red finds out about their daughter Kat is no, let's talk about the gruesome delivery. So her cousin had to come deliver her child. She had a C-section, and poor Scarlett, I felt so bad. What the hell is this? It was like very gruesome, like how her delivery scene was. Like, oh my God, like what the heck? I know childbirth is beautiful, but that right there, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, baby. That was not beautiful, because I was like, oh my God, poor Scarlett. They had to strap her down, and then, oh my God, it was just so much. So her baby is born, beautiful baby, looks just like, I wouldn't say she looked like Bonnie, because everybody was like, she looked like Bonnie. I didn't see it. But I mean, of course, I guess they're supposed to. She was a pretty little girl too. She was like, she had the same hair color as her sister, but she was not like Bonnie. This is how Red finds out about his child. So Scarlett gets arrested for, Lord Fenton's death, because she wakes up after he has knocked her out cold, and she sees a knife pinged in his stomach, and she pulls it out. She's like, help me! And the butler runs in. I'm going to go ahead and say that butler needs to be smack diddly thop, whipped, because you knew she was getting attacked. Everybody heard her screaming, and you knew he was doing this to her, and y'all didn't say not a mother freaking thing. And I was so pissed. And I was like, so ain't nobody gonna help her? Ain't nobody gonna push him down the stairs? Anybody gonna shoot him? Bang, bang, pew, pew, something? So, of course, Rhett comes with his friend Sally, and I think Sally's like actually his cousin, because they talk more about who Sally is basically in the book or whatever. So Sally comes with him, and she was like, the lawyer that represents her, he was like, I have to tell you something, Scarlett has to tell you something, but she won't tell you her face. It's something I have to keep from you. So Red's like, okay, what does she have to tell me? So he comes in the room. He's like, okay, what's like, basically like, he's like, what's up? Like, I'll be like, what's up too? Like, what you gonna tell me? She's like, I have a baby. And he looking like, huh? And it's yours. And he's like, damn you, Scarlett. I was like, yeah, damn you, because your ass could have been told him. Because, even at the Kentucky Derby, they had, like, the little thing with the horses racing, whatever. Because Red became obsessed with, like, horses or whatever. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. and heard him calling for Scarlett one day. I'm gonna go ahead and say it now, baby. If I wake up and somebody I'm married to and they calling somebody else to their significant other, I'm gonna go ahead and say, I'm gonna sit this one out. I'm gonna go ahead and get this divorce. But Anne was pregnant, of course, so yes. But it's just something about Scarlett and just something about Rhett, because she was calling for Rhett too, and it's just, oh my God. So, he finds out about the baby, and Sally was like, you can't get mad or whatever, because, basically he was mad, but the baby was turned away. She turned the child away. The baby was a little girl, and I felt so bad for the little girl. The little girl was calling for her mama, and the servants called for somebody to come get her, and I'm going to go ahead and say she had some good servants. Even though one of her servants was mad because she was sleeping with Lord Fenton, and I was mad too, because I'm like, girl, what the heck? I understand you want to get your rocks off, but baby, not with Lord Fenton. This man is abusing this younger, underage girl, and, well, I don't think she was underage. I think she was like 19, 20. She was real young, and poor thing, he was just abusing her. He's beating on her, essaying her. It was just, oh my God, it was just so much. And she was, when Scarlett got convicted, she screamed out, crying, it was me, it's not her, it's me. So she did stand up for her or whatever, because they was trying to say, because when Scarlett got arrested first, the little girl had ran away or whatever, and they was like, they really think she did it or whatever, but they didn't have to prove. They knew she had more answers. But I'm gonna go ahead and say, how the butler and the maid's gonna sit there and say, oh yeah, Scarlett offed him, but y'all sat there and let her get tortured basically in that room, beat up, tortured, and everything, under the sun, and no one helped her, and y'all really sat there. And I was like, wow, Scarlett, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, fire all of them. Don't even well, they didn't work for her. They worked where she went to go stay at, like a house, like they was renting a house. That was like the modern day of Airbnbs, in my opinion. And in the end, her and Rhett got back together. Now I want to talk about the big house that she remodeled. That was a nice house she remodeled. And then her maid had bought that big old bed or whatever. And I loved how her and Rhett, they was getting on my nerves. They was trying to, he wasn't married Anne. I was kind of mad he married Anne. And when she died, I felt bad for her, but I was like, yeah, but him and Scarlett could be back together now. Cause yeah, y'all need to be together. But she didn't have to die though. I'm gonna go ahead and say it, but, cause she was pregnant. I think she lost a baby before she died. And poor thing, she was so young. But yeah, she didn't need to marry Rhett. Now I'm not gonna say I'm happy that she died, but I'm gonna go ahead and say she didn't need to be Rhett. But Anne was a cute character, but then when she got Rhett, it was just like, nah, baby, you just run the whole movie. Cause baby, what you doing? We team Scarlett and Rhett over here. What the heck you doing, friend? But, yeah, but she knew she could never fill a void that Scarlett felt. And I'm gonna go ahead and say, I'm gonna give this movie a 7 out of 10. Cause when I was first trying to watch this, when I was like, probably in middle school or high school or whatever. I was in middle school. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I was like, I just can't get past, because I was looking at Scarlett and Rhett Butler. Like, Clark Gable was the original Rhett Butler, and Vivian, I can't say her last name. Vivian is the original Scarlett. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I gave this one movie a chance again. I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm glad I did, because it really gives you an eye opener. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Now I gotta go dig through my bin to go find the Gone with the Wind movie. I have, because I have Gone with the Wind. So, yes, you guys, thank you guys so much for listening to my review, and I hope you guys liked it. And did I cover everything I wanted to cover? I think I did. But I will be doing some more, because I want to talk more about what the book and compare the book and the movie. So you guys have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for tuning in to Jennifer's channel. And thank you so much. Thank you again so much, Jennifer, for letting me be on your channel. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts, Alphia. So that's it for today, folks. Keep an eye out for Alphia's review of Gone with the Wind. I participated in that as well. And just for the record, I watched Scarlett before I watched Gone with the Wind, and I recorded my review for Scarlett before I watched Gone with the Wind, so that's why I don't seem to know much about Gone with the Wind in my review. So anyway, have a great day, everyone. Take care.